Hello everybody, this is Con Orc coming to you with another episode of our critically acclaimed segments, Shogun 2, Total War Battle School. Actually, let's be perfectly frank, you've seen a new intro video for this now, you understand that some things are a little bit different about this particular episode. I decided you guys really aren't getting the full effect and really understanding what's going on. I kind of just throw a ton of information at you. And I expect you to pay attention to a lot of it. So I'm not going to quiz you, I'm not going to test you, I'm not going to do anything like that. And instead I'm going to kind of try to give you a little bit more of a idea of what's going to go on here. First things first, I'm going to break down forces for you, and composition. So for me, for example, I have a veteran set of archers as well as another set of archers, a couple units of Yari samurai, a couple of katana samurai, and a couple light cavalry that are hidden in the forest. Oh, and my general, of course, but we don't really care about him, do we? Basically, a ridiculously balanced army. Can't get much more balanced than that. Over here, we have many, many units of foot samurai, which are kind of like archers on crack, although their size of the squads is ridiculously small. We also have a Yari Ashiguru, and then an absolute ton of Naginata attendants. And I think there's one of sword attendants right over here. So while I speed this up and let people get into their initial positions, what does this mean for the initial part of the battle? Well, actually I can probably wait a couple more seconds and think about it because we have a slight standoff going on over here. Well, while we both take our building, he takes the shrine over there, the farmhouse, whatever it is that increases his speed, and I take the archery dojo because, hey, I have archers and I know that his archers are way better than mine. Let's consider the force compositions. In a let's run right at each other straight ahead battle, I win, hands down. If we don't wait for any kind of archers, don't wait for anything whatsoever, I win. My Yari samurai will beat on his troops in the long term. My katana samurai will take up pretty much anything of his guys. I have enough flexibility with my bodyguard, and I also have some flexibility with my light cavalry. However, in a more prolonged and kind of standoff battle, something we'll see in just a second as his troops kind of shift about a little bit, and as mine begin to match up at the same time. If we have a prolonged archer engagement, if he targets the right units, he can kind of get that parity back into order for his foot troops. His Yari Ashiguru will be a little more effective, his sword attendants will be a little more effective, his Naginata attendants don't have the formation bonuses that more trained troops might have, so attacking my foot soldiers will be a lot more effective for him. But doing what I'm doing right now, keep my archers up front, just shift my position forward ever so slightly, as I take away the advantage from him. You'll see in just a second as I continue to kind of reassemble my bowmen again and again and again, with the loose formations first of all. You'll see him hold up. And why is that? Well, you could say that first it's the shallow water, that the water's going to stop him from crossing, but that's not the same thing like it was in the original Shogun game. No, in this one, there's a nice little bridge, but nobody cares about that. You can still cross the water, but it will slow down cavalry and it will slow down units just a little bit. But it doesn't really matter anyway, since the furthest I can go is this little portion of land over here. My general's really kind of out of it, and I command this area over here. What's that mean for him? Well, as you see right now, his foot samurai are moving forward ever so slightly, so they can say hello to my guys in so many polite ways. Each unit firing 45 special little thank you notes and welcome to the neighborhood notes to my guys. Any second now? No? Okay, well, they'll move forward in just a second. They have the same range as my guys, but they are much better in a head-to-head combat. However, being better in head-to-head combat doesn't mean a whole lot. When I outnumber you, what is it? There's 45, 445 is what? 180? I outnumber by half again as many guys. Doesn't seem like a whole lot, and you can make the case it really isn't. And you'll see that in a second. Why that is? One is you'll see he'll concentrate fire like crazy, and my guys will take that fire like they're red-headed stepchildren. And unfortunately, being in red armor, that's going to happen. You'll see that initial volleys towards him have no effect. Like maybe one or two, like big deal, whoop-de-doo. But my veteran archers are going to take a lot of hits. And while you might be tempted to say, geez, he's having the better of this engagement already, he's already making a mistake. Because honestly, I brought those archers along to soak up fire from his archers. Most people, when they fight with archers, they think to themselves, hey, you know, I'm just going to set up a straight up battle, knock away skirmishers, and then pick out his line. You'll see right now I have light cavalry moving from the side, and we'll get a little bit closer up here just so that we can see that nice little shot. Because I'm a sucker.
Units, my lord. Treacherously meant to ambush us.
I'm just a sucker for it. Real quick before I get right back into what I was saying, again, ladies and gentlemen, always remember to look at your radar. It's here for a reason. And as good as your archers are, they don't mean diddly squat when friendly neighborhood cavalry decide to swing by to say hello. A nice little slow motion thing for you. Hello! Ooh, wow, a couple guys actually do get shot by arrows. But you'll see this initial group over here kind of gets beat. Just whipped. Lose a third of their guys in about 3 seconds. And while their samurai is excellent, foot samurai is excellent to fight our cavalry, it doesn't do a whole lot of good when they get hit from the flank. In the meantime, my archers continue to land a lot of distracting fire on him, and really at this point, I kind of start taking the advantage in the long distance fight. That's not to say in a straight up battle I have been losing a ton, because hey, look, I've lost half of my veterans already. And the reason he's lost as many guys as he had is because that, let's say, rather intelligent flank, if I may say so myself. So, while our archers are a little more evenly matched now, and he makes the mistake of firing at my cavalry over here, you'll see some brave cavalrymen get shot in the back. He's already making his first mistake in this battle, and that's letting his forces get kind of drawn out of position. Look at the radar real quick. You can see he has this front portion over here of archers, and he has this back portion of basically all of his melee troops. And while if I wanted to sacrifice my cavalry, I could definitely do that. Now he has all these archers kind of grouped together, and like I said, while they're beating on one of them, any arrows I fire back at anywhere in this area, which I will do in just a second, will have to do a lot more damage. To be perfectly frank, I realize this, and I start bringing my cavalry back in for another charge, and he thinks, okay, intelligently, time to move my Naginata attendants in the same area. Of course, I run away from that because I'm not a complete idiot. And I realize, oh wait, he just fired all of his arrows, so I'm going to charge his guys from the front. Crunch. Some more guys die. And my light cavalry gets drawn up, kind of cut to pieces a little bit as his Naginata attendants finally break close a distance between us. Kind of a big deal. And at the same time, he thinks, oh great, cool, I've taken out all of his cavalry. There's nothing to worry about at this point. And to a large degree, he has really, really masticated one of my units. The good news for me, however, is I still have another unit over here that he has no idea about. And while he's moving forward slowly with some of these other troops, you'll see him move forward in just a second. He's already given me the battle. I know what you're thinking. None of his troops are running. None of his guys are ridiculously hurt. I mean, yeah, he's got a couple of units that are moderately wounded, let's say, taking 30 or 40% casualties, but they're not that bad, right? That's true. I have basically lost my entire unit of archers over here. My veterans are cut to pieces. These guys aren't really doing a whole lot. But he's already been focusing a ton of his fire on my weakest troops. Frame drop for a second there. If you're worth your salt, you realize that your spearmen are going to take care of any cavalry anyway, so not a great plan. What should be happening this entire time is to be targeting much more valuable troops. Katana Samurai, Yari Samurai, anything to bridge the gap between quality, which I mentioned before is kind of a big deal. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite do that, which gives me the opportunity to continue pouring arrows down at his guys over here. Scrushed up as they are, they're going to take a lot more casualties. But at this point, I realize it's more important for me to start taking out his spearmen. And with these guys clumped as much as they are, you'll see arrow fire has a lot to do with it in a second. Oh, and like I mentioned, he does eventually start shooting a Katana Samurai, but at this point, big whoop-de-doo. His spearmen, the things that can basically whip me, are taking a ton of attention, let's say.
My lord.
And while my Katana Samurai over here taking a little bit of losses, not horrible, but just not great, who cares, right? Let's to slow motion for a second so we can talk about how the battle is developing. My opponent is doing something well. He is finally using all of his forces to actually hit me with something. Unfortunately for him, he's focusing all of his forces in the absolute center of my line. That would be fine if I didn't have a ton more in the way of melee than he has. But he's going to be charging straight ahead with peasants against samurai. And you'll see in a second, he drops from 110 to, what, about 95? You'll see it. I realize this is a little bit slower. Drops to 95 almost immediately. My guys have lost nothing. Yari Samurai are very, very underrated in lower tier battles, but I would definitely say if you're looking for people to hold the battle line, definitely worth it. And you'll see this in a second. If you want to count local superiority, I'm going to pause this so you can do that. What's he have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nearly all of his melee units are concentrated right in this small area. If this was Yari Ashigaru, if this was Naginata attendants on my side, that is, they could bust through the line and break and shatter my entire formation to force me to either attack both flanks or just defeat one in detail on either side. Unfortunately for him, the only group he has that's not committed is this kind of wounded group of Naginata attendants over here, as well as his bodyguard. I'm sure I don't really have to point out too obviously to you guys that something's going to develop really, really quickly, and that is obviously, hey look, my flanks. It's true he can swing his avatar in behind me and attack me, and we both rally our troops to give ourselves more of a morale bonus. He can definitely bring his troops in around to what's happening in the rear, but my Yari Samurai already keep that from happening. And with him completely distracted by this engagement over here, if we're doing what you want, I would keep telling you to do the entire time, look at this radar. What's happening? Well, his Naginata attendants are not going to get there in time. 3, 2, oh, whoop, never mind, I'm a little bit worried about that. But in the meantime, I'm forming my own little private version of the Battle of Kano over here. I'm forming this cauldron so that way all of his guys keep pressing forwards to attack, but at the same time, I keep hitting them all in the flank. My Yari Samurai over here are engaging, curling around from the flanks. I have my Katana Samurai moving in. Meanwhile, his general's facing the wrong way. His Naginata attendants are kind of chilling over here and chasing after these guys. And his archers are not doing something that should be way more suitable for their engagement, which is either charging these guys to the flank or shooting out my guys and just saying, damn the losses on himself. I'm going to speed this back up for half a second just so we can get my Katana Samurai into combat. And let's slow it back down so we can continue talking, because this battle is actually closing. It's starting to go into its evening stages. You'll see his foot samurai come out of the trees because that's basically all he has left. You'll see his bodyguard move in at the same time trying to attack these Katana Samurai, and for a moment they might do a little bit of good. Unfortunately, I still have my own bodyguard to deal with. His center's beginning to melt away because his troops are vastly inferior quality in a one-to-one combat. And with my own troops freed up, if you want to take a quick look at the losses I've taken, these guys have held now for probably a total of 2 or 3 in-game minutes, and they've lost 1 in 6. These Katana Samurai have barely been scratched. These Yari Samurai over here have taken a little bit of losses, almost getting about 1 in 6. These Katana Samurai took more damage from being shot at by arrows. You just want to take a quick look over here. This little trail of bodies back here is all from basically Katana Samurai. My guys are all fresh though, and as great as he has, as great as it is that he's got this whole little stamina and movement speed buff, not going to do you a whole lot of good when your troops tire themselves out ridiculously quickly by charging uphill. Going to unpause. And like I said, his center melts away completely. As it is, the battle's pretty much over. The only thing that probably could have saved it at this point was that, like I said, getting that charge in real quick on the Katana Samurai and maybe routing one of my melee wings. Fortunately for him, all he has left to really charge me with are these foot samurai, which are great in small doses. Unfortunately, I have way more in the way of melee troops that are actually made from melee troops. His general over here has a brief encounter with what happens when you have a spearman say hello. And the battle pretty much finishes up here. It'll end in a second. So while it does that, I'm going to start going through what we're learning from this particular battlefield. I'll take a quick eye look over here, a quick bird's eye view. You want to look right here on this kind of center portion of the map. You'll see that the high water mark for him was basically as soon as he charged with everybody to that single point of the line. Again, like I said before, great idea. Really good idea. The bad news is the quality of his troops is not going to be able to carry the day. Yari Yashiguroka's Yari Samurai are not going to win. And as good as it is to concentrate as many troops as he does, Naginata attendants as well as sword attendants are really only good for that initial charge, or if they're fighting other unarmored or peasant units. I guess a straight up fight with samurai is not going to go well for them. That's just the God's honest truth right there. It's just how it's going to be. If you want to look over to the left side down by the river, I've mentioned a time or two before, watch the radar. I don't want to keep repeating that. I know I said it before, but you gotta do that. That's like the most important thing in the entire map, the entire battle, always to do. I guess the final thing you really have to learn from this particular battle is if you have an advantage in one area, in this particular case, my opponent had an advantage in archers basically the entire way through. Focus on the most valuable point of your opponent's forces. In my particular case, I'm more than happy to trade peasant bowman for his samurai any day of the week, because his guys are way more expensive than mine are, excuse me. His guys have a much greater killing power, as you can tell from all the lines up here at the top of the hill. But what was not done is he should have been concentrating fire onto Katana Samurai or my Yari Samurai, anything to bring that quality of infantry back into balance. You can't say that he should have been firing at my cavalry because he didn't know they were there. That's a calculation error unto itself. But if you have an advantage in one area, you likely have a disadvantage in another one. Press home the advantages that you have, given your army composition. Whew. At the same time, this was only a close victory for me. My veteran bowman got shot to pieces. I had a really bad loss on light cavalry for a while. And the rest of my guys, well, I came out pretty okay in the rest of my forces, but I only managed to pull out because that hammer blow didn't achieve what it was looking to do. So we did get a little bit lucky there at the same time. All that being said, this has been another episode of the Shogun 2 Battle School. I hope you guys have enjoyed you've been watching. I hope you guys have taken notes. I definitely would love to see some of you guys out there meeting up with me in the multiplayer arena. So if you do play Shogun and you feel like doing multiplayer, feel free to hit me up. I'd be happy to fight with you or fight against you, see how we do together. And yeah, so this is Con Ulrich. Take it easy, everybody.